Hello, Bilderberg. No, none of that. Only good feelings here today. This is incredible, absolutely incredible, seeing you all here in a designated press area within the grounds of the Bilderberg conference. I just thought I'd put it in a little bit of context from my own personal experiences, quite how extraordinary it is for me to look down and see this, and to see cameras everywhere, and to have seen Sky News and Channel 4 News and the BBC and the Times and the Associated Press and Reuters all here, all reporting on the Bilderberg conference. Can we have a big hand for the mainstream press? They turned up this year. And now I'd like an even bigger hand for the alternative media. The alternative media, the free media, who have been following this event and similar things in the world for a long time. They've been banging on this particular drum for a long time, and this is the fruit of it. The fruit of it was, one of the little fruits of it was my turning up in 2009 to cover it in Athens, because I read about it in the alternative media. I went along. I didn't even really know it was going to be in Athens. I saw one little link on an internet forum somewhere, and thought, okay, why not? I'll go along and write about it. So I went along, and there was barely 10, 12 people outside, and absolutely no mainstream media. I barely counted myself as mainstream media, but I was blogging it for The Guardian. And
you cover your own expenses?
I haven't yet invoiced for any of them.
Even for the 2012?
No, questions at the end, questions after the end. So, yeah. I want you to imagine what it was like in 2009 in Vuliakmeni. Absolutely no press, very few people. I say no press, there were a few bloggers, some independent journalists, but barely more than a dozen. And now we come to today, and it's just, the difference is staggering. And I think that difference is due entirely to the alternative media, because the mainstream media has found it incredibly difficult to talk about Bilderberg. It just hasn't had almost the mental, the intellectual ability to address it. And I think what's happened this year is finally the mainstream media has understood what it is. Oh, this sounds exciting. More exciting than me.
Keep going.
Well, anyway. Is that the Queen of Fair? Don't eat the blue pills. Nobody. Well, this is all very exciting. I'm going to take a short break for a commercial. Just sit back, enjoy the commercials.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm here obviously because I'm outraged by Bilderberg, but more particularly more particularly I want to thank all of you, because you're putting Bilderberg on the agenda. And if there's one thing that ought to be on the agenda, it's what is happening in that hotel over there. To have 130 of the world's, or certainly the Western world's finance capitalist leaders meeting together in a situation of complete blackout and utter secrecy is an outrage to democracy. Democracy in our civilization is on the slide. It isn't the democracy that we knew 40, 50 years ago. It's very different. We've already had in the Eurozone 2 technocratic prime ministers replacing democratic prime ministers in Italy and Greece. And now we have the leaders, much more than the political leaders, the real leaders of Western finance capitalism, meeting there with no agenda, no report on the proceedings, no communique, and no report to Parliament, as far as I know. And that's why I have put down a request to the Speaker of the House of Commons that a statement be made by the Chancellor of the Exchequer or the Prime Minister, both of whom are attending this conference. They're not attending in a personal capacity, they're attending in an official capacity. And on that basis, they should report to Parliament. And we are demanding that. Just contrast that with what happens when David Campbell goes on our behalf to Brussels along with the other heads of state. It's all out in the open, the press is there, it's reported usually on the Saturday and the Sunday. We all know exactly what's going on. That's the way it should be. And exactly the same when they have their Davos conferences in Switzerland every winter. Again, it's completely open. We all know, we think we know anyway, broadly what is going on. But this time it is very different. Why? Well, I can only speculate because I haven't been there. Not yet anyway. But I don't think I have a chance. Anyway,
You've blown it now!
the point is, what is significant? Why do they want secrecy? That's the question that we need to ask. This is not just a cosy chat. You don't get people coming thousands of miles who are the leaders of the European Commission, who are the president of the World Bank, or the WTO, or the IMF, all coming here, not because they want to have a cup of tea in a Swiss hotel, but because they want to have complete frankness in their discussions, they want to have serious policy making, and in the state of current capitalism, they want to concert their plans. And it may be pretty brutal. I can well understand that that is what they're discussing. But the fact is, if they are discussing those things, the one group of people who ought to be involved is us, because we are the... This is going to affect the lives of every single one of us in the UK and the rest of the West. These are the people who are deciding our future, our livelihood, our jobs, and if you look at the bedroom tax, even our homes. So it's about time that we had this opened up. Now I think that's an extremely reasonable request. I'll just say two other things. It so happens, I must say, the ironies in politics are never ending. It so happens that on Monday of this week, Cameron, as a result of the awful further revelations of sleaze in the House of Commons and the House of Lords, which I utterly deplore and should be punished. Cameron decided there was going to be a crackdown on lobbyists. And there was going to be transparency, and there was going to be an end to corruption. And at the end of the week, the biggest lobbyist group in Western capitalism sees in total secret. And one other thing, which you may have noticed in today's papers, wonderfully timed to fit in with the Bilderberg conference. You will know that they are very, very keen to know about every single email, telephone call, video, text message, all the online society that all of you and all of us are making billions and billions and billions of them. They want to track every single one through Facebook and all of the other social media using MI5, MI6 and the GCHQ in Cheltenham. Well, what I say to them is if you are so keen to know about every single email, etc. that we send, we want to know the basic message. final thing. I think what they should be discussing, and I bet they are discussing, is the one single biggest issue affecting the Western world, indeed the whole world, including China. And that is prolonged austerity. It is the single biggest issue which affects us all, and we should be involved in that. Now, let me say, the obvious thing is to look for an alternative to austerity. Why? Because the policy, even in its own terms, is failing. Because the decline in government tax receipts as a result of lack of growth exceeds the cuts in public expenditure which the government manages to make. That means the budget deficit under current policies is actually increasing, not declining. So why in heaven's name don't they change it? Well, I've got a lot of things that I could say to you about that, but the real point that I want to make is the obvious way to cut the deficit, which is much better for all of us anyway, is to expand the economy, put people back to work so that they are starting to pay taxes instead of taking benefits, and that is the quickest way to kickstart the economy and get it going. So why don't they actually do it?
Don't go to war! End the war! End the war!
Unfortunately, I've got the microphone. I know that there are a lot of people who are concerned about growth, and growth cannot be endless. I totally agree.
The country's fucking ruined!
I think that that is the right way forward. All I want to say is this. Osborne, if he were here, bless his cotton socks, would say, there you are, there's Labour again. Soon as there is a crisis over borrowing, the first thing they want to do is borrow more. Well, shall I tell you how we could do this without any increase in public borrowing at all? We own RBS, the Royal Bank of Scotland, and Lloyds. Why don't we tell them to invest in growth and jobs? We don't have to bribe them, we should tell them because we own them.
Taking all your money.
Secondly, we've got this thing that no one understands called quantitative easing. What it means is electronic printing of money. We've printed £375 billion of money and given it to the banks. Have we seen any results out of that? No, we haven't. Why instead don't we use a much smaller proportion of that and invest directly in manufacturing, in industry and services, and create the jobs and growth that we and the rest of the Western world need? But this is my very final point. I'm a politician after all, they always go on. The fact is, the best way to deal with this crisis is to tax the rich.
Yeah!
Did you hear that? I said the best way to deal with this crisis is to tax
the rich! Tax the rich! Tax the rich!
One final question. Just think, in the last 4 years since the financial crash, which has caused all of us to have to tighten our belts some disastrously, what would you say has happened to the 1,000 richest persons in the UK?
Got richer!
FT 100 directors.
Next question.
How much extra pay?
Just 1,000 persons, we're talking about 0.003% of the population, absolutely minuscule number. How much has their wealth increased? Well, you won't know. This comes from the Sunday Times Rich List. Their wealth has increased by £190 billion in the last 4 years. Just 1,000 people. I think we have a message for them. Don't tell us that we're going to tighten our belts. How about you lot paying your taxes? Thank you very much indeed for coming. To have an opportunity like this, it is worth a million parliamentary debates. I think our message is getting home. All power to your elbow. Thank you.